Good evening, everybody joining. Lots of you joining from all points across the southwestern Wales. Great to see you all tonight. And it's a night, I've got to be honest, I'm really looking forward to myself. Simply because the destination is one of those, isn't it? You know, and the slide that you can see probably on your screen now gives you a little bit of a taster of it. But I think one of the things, and probably the reason why we decided to do this evening, is because the Maldives are not one giant island. They are loads of islands. And there is probably a feeling that they're pretty much all the same. And of course, they're not. And so a lot of the reason for this evening is to talk you through generally why should you go there. And secondly, you know, what I'm going to do, we've got two star guests tonight. We've got Dom and Ali from If Only tonight, and I'm going to interrogate them after Dom's short introduction about all things Maldives. So hopefully at the end of the presentation, you'll get a lot more insight into where you should go, what you should do, ideas of things you can do. But equally, I've got my questions here in front of me, but I'm very keen to get any questions from you. So if you don't get the question asked that you want to know, then just tap your screen. There's a chat facility. Type the question in the chat facility, and I will make sure I ask either of our experts tonight the question and get it answered for you. And we'll do that right at the end of the presentation. And so Dom and Ali, they're both from If Only. They're a holiday company that you probably don't know well. So Dom will do a few words about them and what they do. We use them an awful lot for our business to the Indian Ocean in particular. But like I say, Dom will do a quick intro, and now I will interrogate them about the Maldives. And then hopefully at the end, we can get some questions from you to put them on the spot with some other stuff as well. So Dom, I will pass over to you.
Thanks, Miles. Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. As Miles has said, quick brief introduction. Also have Ali, who works in our Indian Ocean team, who the Miles Morgan guys phone and pick our brains, and she's an absolute whiz on this, and that's great that she could join us this evening. So literally a little bit about If Only, a little bit of background on the Maldives, a bit of a quiz and did you know kind of thing. So a little bit about If Only. As Miles said, you may not have heard of us because we're what's called a trade-only tour operator. So we would only sell through selected travel agents such as Miles Morgan Travel, who are absolutely vital for us, one of our longest supporters over the years. We were founded 20 years ago, so we're what a year to celebrate 20 years in travel. Looking for a bit of a bash, maybe one that we deserve, maybe not just for a birthday, but just for the fun and games we've gone through over the last 14-15 months. We're having a bit of a bash later this year. Multi-award winning, just like Miles Morgan Travel in the travel industry. So both of us are recognised by our peers year in, year out, which is fantastic. And we have a team of expert destination specialists working with our travel agency partners, and Ali is one of those in the Indian Ocean team. I think Ali's been with If Only even longer than I have, so certainly over half of those 20 years. And one important thing, obviously, we're fully ABTA and atoll bonded. They're the buzzwords over the last 12 months more than any time in the travel industry. And also just added in there that we offer flexible booking conditions. Given the current climate, we need to make sure that we can be as flexible as possible, given the ever-changing restrictions that's popping up week in, week out for all of us. So, Indian Ocean, get your cameras ready. I'm looking out the window here in Warwickshire. It's pouring down rain as it always does in mid-May. The other week I was in the Cotswolds standing outside a Miles Morgan shop on a bank holiday break, and I think it was sleeting at one point in Stroud. But so I was dreaming of views like this. And actually 2 years ago, literally this week, this was my view. This was Ozen Mardu in Maldives, one of the really high-end, beautiful islands. And that literally was my own photograph as I looked across the beach. So yeah, I'm afraid that's brought a tear to my eye when it popped up on one of my Facebook time hops or something this week. So Maldives. A lot of people, Miles has just mentioned, where is the Maldives? It's in the Indian Ocean, which is a big ocean. It's about a little bit southwest of Sri Lanka and India. If you can see there on that map, you can see where it is. And as Miles said, it's 185 inhabited islands, plenty more uninhabited islands across 26 atolls. Maldives is 1% land and 99% water. There's a little fact you can use, and it's also the lowest country in the world, taking taking the title from Netherlands and other places in Europe. Obviously, it's the lowest country in the world. So currency is the Maldivian rupiah. I'd recommend not getting any Maldivian rupiah exchange before you convert. You can't really use them. Only use them in Mali, and the local people use them as well. So US dollars widely accepted, but more importantly, credit cards, debit cards. You very rarely use cash, and you might want to get some tips, but give you tips in dollars. They'd be very, very gratefully accepted. Official language is Diwali, but again, English is the most widely spoken language in all the resorts. On the left there, you can see a little map of where the atolls are. I mean, crikey, to get a map of where all the hotels are, it's a very detailed map, 180 odd islands. Direct flights, 10.5 hours from the UK, but obviously it depends on which route you take. There are limited direct flights, just with British Airways. We'll come to that in one of the questions, but there's other ways of getting there. Time difference, 5 hours ahead of the UK, and for many of you may know, capital, it's Mali. One of the greatest approaches to a country ever is flying into Mali and the Maldives, because you literally come over the islands and you get some wonderful photos. You get a window seat, there's the top tip, get a window seat when you're coming into the Maldives, and you get some wonderful photos. And the runway is a strip of land on an island, and that's where that's called practically Airport Island. It's fantastic. Climate, pretty nice all the way through. It's probably a bit warmer than that. That's the sort of the official climate degree levels, but it's probably a bit better than that most of the year. Dry season December to April, but obviously this is peak season, so dry season is the most expensive season. A little bit wetter May to November. I went in June and a couple of showers, but they clear up. People ask about food, multinational, as you can imagine. Cuisine from all regions, all the hotels are trying to outdo each other with the signature restaurants and chefs. But obviously a lot from Southeast Asia, India, and also the Far East. And then transfers to the islands. How do you get to the islands? Well, if you go by seaplane, you arrive at Mali Airport, you go through to the terminal, and then you get taken across to the seaplane airport, which is a series of floating seaplanes along the sort of docks there. It's quite a cool place to wander around, sit in a lounge, and then you get taken over to your seaplane. If the island is quite close to Mali, then generally you get taken on a speedboat. And then if it's quite far away from Mali, you could take a domestic flight and then take a boat to your island. So that's one thing to be very certain of, is how you get to your island. And that's really, before we jump on to the next slide, Miles, that was where we were going to.
Yeah, splendid.
You were going to grill it a little bit.
Your microphone is dipping in and out a bit for some reason. You were fantastic, and then all of a sudden it just sort of slid downwards a little bit, and then you reappeared again. So we'll see how we do with the Q&A. I think that the majority of these Zooms that we do, these destination Zooms, we always do them in a formal presentation. And this evening we thought, because the Maldives is a bit different, we do things a little bit different. So we'll see how this format goes, and hopefully you can give us some feedback as well at the end of the presentation. So Dom, I will start with you in my grilling. So the driest, warmest, I suppose you'd say best time to visit the Maldives is when?
Yeah, December through to April, December to February, and then March and April as well. That is the dry season. It is, as I mentioned before, it's the peak season as well. People go away for Christmas. You need to book well in advance if you fancy going away for Christmas, because a lot of the islands have a huge amount of repeat guests. So that's important as well to remember to book well in advance for the peak season as well. But that's the dry season.
So it's great, really. So basically in our winter, when it's horrible here, it's fantastic over there.
Yeah, February's a great time to go.
Mm. And I suppose the counter to that is, and you rightly said it, it is the most expensive time to go. So if you're on a slightly more limited budget and you want to go slightly off season in the shoulder season or the low season, what's going to happen? Are people going to expect to get torrential rain every day, or what can they? Is it worth the gamble? What would you say about that?
Without becoming John Kelly, as we are in the travel industry, we always asked about the weather. Obviously, it's a tropical destination, so tropical showers do arrive during the wet season. So I went in June a couple of years ago, and we had a day and a half out of 7 where when it was overcast. It was warm, very warm. It was overcast, but it clears up either in the early evening or first thing in the morning. But sometimes you can get 3 or 4 hours of either quite heavy rain or just overcast weather during the wet season as well. So, you know, but then you get stories of people having 10 days straight through sun. It's unfortunately, it's slightly unpredictable, but it's very warm rain.
and still warm enough to be sat on your sunbed?
Flip-flops and shorts, absolutely. Yeah, not at all. No, it's incredibly warm. Yeah, it's lovely.
And of course, there is a substantial, I mean, when we talk to Ali, we'll talk maybe a bit more about that, but there is a substantial difference, obviously, in the price between the two seasons. So as a customer of holidays yourself, you would certainly consider traveling in the summer because of the price difference?
I'd probably definitely, yes, I would go that time of year. Also not as busy as well. You know, islands can get busy, especially through the holiday season, whether it's Christmas or half terms or Easter. You know, the islands get very busy. You have to remember it's not just the UK market that go to the Maldives. It's very popular with other nationalities. So they tend to go peak season as well. Although I think in May, Ali, I went in May, and there's a week in May, which is the Chinese honeymoon week. And the little Chinese people come across and they literally spend 4 or 5 days taking photos, keeping out of the sun. And it's incredible to watch, to be fair. It's great. And they love it. They're just put on
Chinese honeymoon week.
Yeah.
It's a new one. So, right. So you've sold us into it. We're keen. How do we get there from the UK? What are the flying options that people have for getting out there?
So let's talk about last year, next year, as opposed to at the moment. Obviously,
yeah, it's fair to say, yes. In a normal year, let's talk about a normal year. It won't be long, hopefully, before we get one.
Well, ironically, British Airways put on an extra capacity on their direct service in, but unfortunately, they've had to pull that. Yeah, hoping that the Maldives was going to have a nice green tinge to its name, but obviously it's not at the moment. So BA fly direct, and I said it's about 10 and a half hours direct. And then the other options are Emirates. Obviously, our friends in Emirates, you can fly from Birmingham, you can fly from Heathrow, Gatwick, Manchester. You know, there's obviously about 10 or 12 different departures there. And then we've got Turkish Airlines. I flew with Turkish Airlines, was incredibly impressed by Turkish Airlines. And that's sort of 4 hours into Istanbul, and then another 6 or 7, it's probably about 6.5 hours. So it's not much longer than the actual, apart from obviously the change at Istanbul, than the direct. Then we've got Qatar, again, an absolutely superb airline. And Qatar were flying from Cardiff. Are they back on, I think, from Cardiff?
Well, in normal land, the answer to that question is yes.
In the normal world,
yes.
Yeah. Qatar, and then you've got Sri Lankan Airlines and Etihad via Abu Dhabi as well. So there's 4 or 5 very good airlines would be the main ones that we'd use into the Maldives.
So loads of choices. The answer would probably, Heathrow and Birmingham probably being
particularly regionally as well for where your clients will be based, Southwest, Cotswolds, Wales, etc. Then yeah, absolutely, you've got great Birmingham and Heathrow options.
Yeah. And I better ask this question as well, given we are in the position we are in as a country. So when you get there, one of the concerns you might have is, are there any medical facilities? These are small islands and stuff. Are there any medical facilities, doctors, that sort of stuff?
So
when you get there?
Yeah, there are medical facilities. There are hospitals on the capital island, Male. Obviously, that's the main island, the capital, and that is effectively a small city. And that's where the hospitals and clinics are located. Many of the islands have doctors on them. Certainly more, dare I say, the more upmarket islands tend to have doctors on them. There will always be first aiders, stroke nurses, and etc. Because obviously people need to have that covered. The islands that are closer to Male, they're obviously more. So every island will be within reach of a doctor. So if you're a long way from Male, so it's a long flight. So one of the islands nearby would have a doctor. It might not be the island you're staying on and that you could get to. So you're within access. Yeah, you're within reach of them. Certainly the islands that are near to Male would always have a boat ready to take someone to Male anytime through the night if they fell or through the evening and had to go across. I actually experienced that when I was in there a couple of years ago. We had to say, unfortunately, one of the ladies was a little bit poorly and she got taken on a speedboat 40 minutes across the water and went straight into the clinic that evening, got dealt with incredibly well. So by very nature of the geography of the Maldives, you haven't got an hospital around the corner on the at the other end of the island, but they have contingencies to cover that. If somebody was concerned about, maybe had young children, maybe who were susceptible, maybe thought might be poorly, or somebody wanted to be a little bit of reassurance, maybe suggest being within a boat ride of Malé as opposed to being at the other end of one of the southern atolls or something like that.
But again, if I get you to put your customer hat on, it wouldn't be a point of concern for you traveling there.
No, not at all.
No, that's fine.
I suppose you hope you don't plan to go on holiday to get ill, but if you do want to have that security that you can get somewhere.
Yes.
Guess
absolutely.
if you did have regular health problems and you booked somewhere quite a long way from Malé, let's be honest, you can't just get from that island to the hospital that night, because there may not be a flight. You can't get there, and it's too far to put somebody on a boat across the Indian Ocean to get to where the hospital is. But there would be a doctor on a nearby island anyway.
Brilliant. Okay, right. Let's get to the meat of the issue here then. So we know how we can get there. We know when we might choose to go. Let's now get down to where we should go, which is probably one of the key things for everybody on this Zoom. So if we start, Ali, with maybe looking at the 4 and 5 star market, what's your recommendations for islands people might look at for that kind of customer?
Yeah, so as you'd mentioned, I would say that every island is so different style of rooms, different ambience, different clientele. So if you were looking at your sort of most affordable 4 star, I would say something like the Sun Siam Olivelle, which is quite a large island, over 300 rooms, but plenty going on. It's also great for families. You've got your kids swimming pool, kids club, play area, etc. as well. A really good all-inclusive package as well, and a really good price point to start with. Another one that you could possibly look at would be, there's a group of hotels called the Adiran properties. So you've got the Adiran Club Renali, which I would say is a lead-in 4 star, probably one of our lead-in price properties that we feature. Very small, quiet, 1 restaurant. So for clients maybe that are just wanting to go away, chill, do nothing, that would probably be your best priced option. Lead-in 5 star, if you're maybe going up, you've got a wee bit more of a budget, I would say the Sun Siam Irafushi is a lovely one to look at. Really good all-inclusive. You've got a great choice of dining as well, which can be important, especially when you're stuck literally on one island. You don't want to be going to the same restaurant every night. So I would say that that's a good 5 star. And then the atmosphere properties that Dom's visited before, you've got the All Blue Helengeli, the All Blue Select Sangeli, both 4 star properties. Again, really good. You'll tend to find that a lot of the hotels do really good offers. So you'll get early booking discounts. You might get some free nights, etc. as well. So that obviously helps with the pricing, depending on when you're going. So they're probably your sort of go-to lead-in priced properties if you've got clients that are, just wanting a starting point of how much things would cost.
I'm feeling sorry now for anybody that's trying to write down some of those places that you've just talked about. What I would say, if anybody just writes down, in the case atmosphere or something like that, if they contact one of our shops tomorrow, we can help you, because we can contact Ali and get, which one was she talking about last night? We can do that for you. So
especially with my quick Scottish accent, won't be helping.
Let's go to the other end of the spectrum. So traveling with young children or with infants, is the Maldives a choice people should consider?
Definitely, I would say I've got 2 wee ones, a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I definitely wouldn't put me off from traveling. The hotels, when you get there, if you pick the right resort, they absolutely love the kids. They cater for them well. You've got some properties that have maybe got separate family areas in the restaurant, so you don't need to worry about maybe your wee one running off and disturbing somebody else that's maybe having a romantic meal at night. You've got your family villas, so you've got a lot of hotels that they can either guarantee interconnecting rooms. If, say, you've got a family of 4 or 5 that can't fit all in one room, we'll get it guaranteed interconnecting. You've got a lot of properties as well that do the 2-3 bedroom villas as well, with, say, their own plunge pool. What some can do as well that we've had in the past is that if you do have a pool attached to your villa, they can fence it off, so that safety aspect, if you've maybe got a wee one running about, and obviously you can't have eyes in the back of your head at all times, then they can do things like that and fence off the pool area. So yeah, and the kids clubs as well. The kids clubs are phenomenal, and a lot of the properties, they'll take them away for the day. They do like treasure hunts, sandcastles on the beach, etc. as well. You'll have maybe some separate dining times as well, maybe a wee bit earlier for families to dine. So definitely recommend for families.
It's a yes. I can tell.
It is.
But I can tell by the passion you're talking about it. It's a yes. I put this next question in for me because this is me, basically. So I like some nice dining, some a la carte dining. I like a choice of restaurants, not just one. But equally, from a budget perspective, it's nice if that could be included on an all-inclusive basis. So I've got all-inclusive, so I know how much my budget's going to be, but I've got options to dine in different restaurants. Is there some properties you can suggest on that?
Yeah, definitely. Again, I would say probably if you're looking at your nice 5-star, then the Ozen Life, which is the slide that Dom showed right at the start, that has got an amazing all-inclusive. It's called the Indulgence Plan, and basically you're not restricted to just your main buffet restaurant. So you've got all your sort of Indochina restaurant, Italian restaurants, etc. You've got your champagne included. Ozen also have an underwater restaurant, so there's only a few of them in the Maldives, and that is the only property that include the underwater restaurant on the all-inclusive package. So that would be, if you've maybe getting a special occasion, etc., or birthday, anniversary or something, then you can pre-book that and you don't need to pay anything additional. So Ozen probably would be my first, again, go-to for a good a la carte dine around. Another one you could possibly look at would be one called Lux, South Ariatol. Again, lovely 5-star. I think that's got a choice of 8 restaurants on their all-inclusive package. And again, dine around, so you're not just restricted to having one visit to the a la carte restaurant, during your stay. You can freely, unlimited use of all the a la carte restaurants. So yeah, those two probably would be good ones if the dining and the food is very important to them.
I think that's just brilliant advice, because I think for a lot of people, they think they go there, there's just a small island, they walk around it in a day or whatever, half a day. There's one restaurant, they have to dine there every night. But I mean, when you're talking about a hotel that's a choice of 8 different a la carte restaurants, that's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So if you're going for 10 days,
yeah,
pretty much eating a different restaurant every night. It's wonderful, isn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Now this one is probably one that everybody has sort of on their radar. As soon as you talk about Maldives, going to a hotel in the Maldives, one of the natural things you then think about is the overwater bungalows. These bungalows that stick out into the sea, that you can see the most amazing pictures of people on them on social media. Stunning, stunning things. Are they going to cost the crown jewels, or are there opportunities to stay in those for a reasonable price?
Yeah, definitely. Again, if you pick the right resort, you've got some good offers on that apply to all villa categories. One of the better priced lead-in water villas, I would say, would be a property called the Sintara Razfushi, which is a nice 4-star superior, and they've got deluxe water villas. The supplements, to be honest, aren't huge at all. So some clients, they might be surprised when they see the price comparison between, say, a lead-in beach villa and a water villa. You've also got a couple of properties that maybe they lead in water villas, so their water villas are actually cheaper than their beach villas. So that's the likes of the Constance Halavelli, which is a lovely 5-star deluxe. Their lead-in room category is a water villa with your own pool, and it works out cheaper than the beach villas. So yeah, sometimes you would be surprised at the small supplement. Another option that it could do, if maybe clients were a wee bit worried about the price aspect of it, you can split your stay. So you could do, say, 5 nights in a beach villa and then 5 nights in a water villa. So you get the experience of both villas, but you're not paying the, over the top premium for the water villas. So that's another wee good sort of top tip the clients can look at.
I think that's a good.
Have you booked the Morgan family before? Because it sounds like you're exactly describing, because that's exactly what I probably want to do. I wouldn't probably want a water bungalow for the whole duration, because I'd maybe want to just step out onto the beach most of the time. But I'd want the experience. That's brilliant. So you can split 5 and 5, 7 and 3, anything you want. Can you?
I think the other positive that Miles is obviously you probably get more square meters for your buck in a beach villa than a water bungalow. By natural. You also get more privacy. So you've seen the pictures of the water bungalows look amazing, but you are closer to your next door neighbours. And dare I say, if you were to have 1 or 2 more glasses of wine of an evening, it's a longer walk back to your always. There's golf buggies on islands for a reason, is to try and take you back to your water villas. They are a long way away. So
is that a man talking from experience, Tom?
I've just had to chaperone lots of people back to them. It's a job I'd like to do in the future, I think.
Good tactical answer. Ali, I'm going to go to the other end of the spectrum. So you've talked nicely about options for kids and stuff. So if you're a couple looking for adult only, maybe the kind of, what would I describe it as, island paradise kind of destination where, small island, adult only, kind of a dream to just be isolated and away from everything. What options are there for that type of customer?
Yeah, again, we've got plenty. Your adults only are slightly more limited than the sort of standard welcomes everybody, but we do have a few in our portfolio that are adults only, whether it be under no children under 18, some of them no children under 12, some under no children under 8. So if you are looking at sort of guaranteed no children under 18, you could look at the likes of the Commando, which is a 4-star. I would say it's one of the maybe older resorts, more established, very, very small, intimate, very rustic in style, traditional Maldivian in style. So that's no children under 18. They can do bed and breakfast, half board, all inclusive as well. So that would be a nice one. Or if you, again, maybe you're not too bothered about older children, but you want to kind of stay away from the younger children, the Santara Razfushi that I had mentioned previously, the 4-star superior. So that's got no children under the age of 12. So again, that one is a good option. They do a good all-inclusive package. They do 2 all-inclusive packages, actually, a standard and a gold. So you could look at the likes of that, or the Anantara Valley is a lovely property, no children under 18 there as well. That one's a bit more intimate. It does have 2 other sister properties nearby, but you could use the facilities of the sister properties, but the clients in the sister properties couldn't use the facilities in the Anantara Valley. So it makes it a wee bit more exclusive.
Okay. This couple that went on that holiday, I'm now going to sort of morph them forwards, and then they're now weighing up their options. So could they choose to get married in the Maldives? Is that possible? And secondly, as a honeymoon destination, what sort of options are there for people on a honeymoon? Do hotels do deals and offers and things for honeymooners?
Yep, certainly. So very, very honeymoon orientated. The majority of the hotels will do some honeymoon benefits, whether it be flowers and wine in their room, a special turn down service on the night they arrive. They'll put sort of petals on the bed, chocolates in the bed, special bath setups where they'll put candles and things, romantic music. A lot of the properties as well offer a special romantic honeymoon dinner, maybe one day during their stay. So they'll set up a small exclusive area for them, whether it be on the beach, might be in a sandbank. I went to the Maldives on my honeymoon, and where we stayed, they set up a dinner for us on the end of a pontoon. So we went for about 6:30, got an invitation for dinner, and I thought, oh, this is very early for dinner. But then I realised why. It was literally when the sun was setting. So you were sitting in the table in the pontoon, lanterns all the way up the pontoon, bottle of champagne, just absolutely amazing. So they cater so well for honeymooners. You might find that they'll give you some spa treatments complimentary as well, maybe one spa treatment each, or you'll get a discount on spa treatments. What they normally ask is a copy of the wedding certificate. So if clients can maybe just take a wee copy of it, or if they don't have their wedding certificate before they leave the UK, just a wee copy of a wedding invite or something, just in case sometimes the hotel ask for it at check-in. So yeah, highly recommend for honeymooners as well. And then on to your first question was the weddings. So you can't legally get married in the Maldives. So they can do a wedding blessing stroke renewal of vows, but the clients would need to get married in the UK before they leave, and then have a small blessing ceremony when they arrive in the Maldives. But again, they can tailor make it to suit them, whether they're taking a group of people or whether it's just the two of them. They'll provide the witnesses, set up on the beach. They'll have background music or traditional Maldivian music, flowers, archway, etc. as well. So yeah, again, every property in the Maldives can do the renewal of vows package for them.
Okie doke, great. One of the things I know a lot of the hotels over there do all inclusive. If somebody decides to do a bed and breakfast option or a half board option, what are the prices like for food and drinks out there? Is it incredibly expensive and people should be looking to do all inclusive, or is it a viable option to do B&B or half board?
Yeah, I personally would recommend all inclusive. Now, it has been a good few years since I've been out, so Dom might have more up to date, but certainly when I was there a good sort of 4 or 5 years ago, you're looking at $6-7 for a soft drink. Glass of wine sort of $15-20, so that certainly can add up. So especially if you maybe have a couple of drinks before your dinner, your meal, your bottle of wine during your meal, maybe a couple of cocktails afterwards, it can certainly be expensive. Dom, I don't know if you
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree. All inclusive, especially if that's something that polite way of saying is something that's quite important to you on your holiday, that you want to be able to relax and enjoy drinks and not worry about the price of it. Then yeah, as you said, it's a lot. It's obviously imported, a lot of the alcohol that's coming in. One thing that's very interesting is that just to remember that because it's a Muslim country, you have the sommeliers, the people working on the islands giving you wine tips and tasting sort of alongside your meals, and it's amazing how they've managed to do that when they've never tasted any wine in their lives before, but they've all been trained on what goes with what food and etc. But as far as the bars, all inclusive is the way forward. And you'll find that the places that don't have all inclusive tend to be at the higher end market for people that might not be so worried about the price of a $15 glass of wine. That's not so, it's not such an issue for them. So that seems the way it works over there. But I'd recommend all inclusive if it's.
I suppose it's worth. We can obviously get a price for both, and people can see the differential in the price. And if they're not big drinkers, particularly, then they might choose a B&B or a half board option.
Some of the half board packages can include a bottle. There are some sort of drinks packages as such, half board as well. So if you just want to treat yourself on a couple of nights to have some drinks, then it can work out worthwhile looking at that as well.
Okay. Moving on to when you're there, what can you do? What sort of excursions and trips and things can people do when they're actually in the resort?
A lot of just I'll step in on that. A lot of the excursions are based around the environment that you're in. So obviously you are I said 99% water. So sunset cruises, sea fishing, go on a sunset fishing cruise. What else? They have some cookery schools, some really nice culinary classes, because you've got top chefs there and you're on an island. They've got the time to some nice cookery classes. You've got, obviously, every island has a fantastic spa, so a lot of people would take advantage of the spas there. You can go out to visit some of the local islands, but to be honest, there's not a lot of chopping and changing between islands, and that's very depends on the geography of where you're based as well. And then, I say not excursions, but you've got obviously water sports. The water sports, every island would have a water sports centre. Certain islands will have what's called a house reef, so it'll have its own reef where obviously snorkeling, scuba diving is fantastic. Other islands, you may have to take a small boat out with a guide and go out and do some snorkeling further off to a nearby reef as well. So,
Dom, can I have my motorised water sports and my windsurfing all included in the price, or is it extra?
Tends to be non-motorised motorsports that are included. The other thing with motorised water sports, it's not available on every island, because if there is a house reef at the island, they won't allow motorised water sports because of obviously looking after the reefs as well. So that's very important to get the right island. If you've got somebody who really wants to go on a jet ski or wants to go and do something motorised, and they arrive and realise they can't because there's a beautiful house reef that can't be damaged. So we need to get those things right as well. But generally, is right, is that motorised water sports tend to be an additional charge, don't they, on most of the islands?
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about my opportunity to have my water bungalow and have my beach villa. Is there an option for me to do 2 different islands in the Maldives? Is that possible?
Yeah, I think again, probably dependent on geography. So obviously, to go into the Maldives, you go by Male, and if you wanted to go from one island in the north down to the south, you would have to go back into Male and then come back out, and whether it's a seaplane or a boat transfer to the second island. There are a limited number of islands that are within a easy reach of a boat trip between islands. So, for example, someone like Oblu Helengeli, we talked to earlier, and Sangeli, 2 of the atmosphere islands, they are reachable from each other by boat, and they're all part of the same group as well. That also helps as well, because obviously if you're going from the equivalent of one hotel to another, they're competitors, so they're not going to ferry you there. So you have to have you have to pay for a private transfer, a private boat transfer between islands. If it's part of the same group in atmosphere, then I'm not sure they charge. I think they said to me when I was over there, between Helengeli and Sangeli, it's a nominal fee. You're not chartering the boat, because there's a regular service between islands. They swap staff, etc., etc. So that's something to bear in mind on that. And then a couple of others, someone like Halaveli and Mufushi, they're both part of the Constance group, and they're also accessible by boat between each other. I think it's about 25 minutes between the 2 of those as well. So there are options to do that, but there is the chance that you'd have to go back into Mali and back out again, depending on which islands you wanted to twin up. But it's a good option, because me personally, 2 weeks on the same island probably is too much for me, but I'd love to, I'd be really excited to break it up, and almost like a second holiday within the same holiday, to go to a new island and settle in somewhere else. So good option.
You talked about the reefs, and I do know that you can see whale sharks over there. So are there particular islands that are better for diving and seeing whale sharks and things like that, or are they all the same?
I thought you said Welsh sharks then. Ali, I'll let you.
Yeah. So whale shark diving is very popular, and something that we do get asked about quite a lot. And you'll find that if you pick a property in the South Area Atoll, they say that that's the best for the whale shark diving. So you've got the likes of the Lux South Area Atoll that I'd mentioned previously. The Ozen Life that we've also talked about is in the South Area Atoll. The Santara Grand, which is a nice lead-in 5-star. And also I think the Conrad have got a dedicated whale shark training centre that you can go and visit and learn about, etc. So the Conrad Rangali again is quite good. So you can arrange excursions to go out and dive with the whale sharks. Diving itself, again, the south is really good, but also the north, the sea life is abundant in the Maldives, no matter where you go. You will maybe find that the further south you go, there's maybe sort of more undiscovered dive channels, etc., that you can do your scuba diving from. But for whale sharks, definitely the South Area Atoll's your best bet there. And I think it's December to May is the best time to see the whale sharks. So if they are going specifically for that, then yeah, they would need to look at the sort of high season end to see them.
Okay. Dom said 2 weeks on one of these islands might be a bit much for me. We talked about the opportunity to do twin islands within the Maldives. What options are there for people that want to do the Maldives and another country? What sort of twin centre options are available with other countries?
Well, you've got, if you're flying with the likes of Emirates, then you would be looking at Dubai and the Maldives, either stopping in the outbound or the inbound. From Dubai, you could then have a road transfer to Abu Dhabi, or you could look at the likes of Ziggy Bay in Oman as well. If you're flying with Etihad, then you're flying in via Abu Dhabi, so that would be your option there. Another couple of popular ones are Sri Lanka and the Maldives. So you'll tend to find that flying with Sri Lankan via Colombo, you could have, say, a 7-night tailor-made tour in Sri Lanka for your first part of your holiday, and then fly over to the Maldives, which is only about an hour, and have then, say, 7 nights relaxing on the beach. So Maldives and Sri Lanka is very, very popular. A couple of other ones that maybe people don't know so much about is Asia. So you could look at Singapore and the Maldives. They've direct flights Singapore to Maldives with Singapore Airlines. I don't think they're as frequent. They're not every day, but that would be an option if you were wanting, maybe you've done Dubai, you've done Abu Dhabi, you want something a wee bit different, but you still want your city break. And then also Thailand. I did a Thailand Maldives Twin Centre, and it was, again, it was so seamless. You've got your direct flights from Bangkok into the Maldives with Bangkok Airways. So again, that's a really good option to look at as well.
So plenty of options is the answer there. Loads of options.
Yeah, obviously
Turkish
has got Istanbul as well. So Istanbul, you want the madness of that for a city break for 3 or 4 days, amazing, and then relax, unwind. It's it's a great service in from Istanbul into Male as well.
Yeah, and I mean Istanbul is a place that I'd never ever entertained going. And I ended up going, and what a magnificent place it is.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
place.
It is unbelievable. Yeah.
And one thing is, the other things, talk about Dubai, but it's like the airport, the new airport, Istanbul, makes Heathrow look like Cardiff. It's enormous. It's the biggest airport I've seen, and it's absolutely, they've spent a lot of money there as well. So it's actually just going through there, and a very, very nice place to transfer.
That's pretty much my questioning over. So I'm going to ask one final question to both of you, and it's actually the same question. I'll start with you, Ali. Your final top tip for somebody that's thinking about going to the Maldives, what would it be?
Mine would probably be pack a small wee extra bag with maybe a freshen up of clothes. The Maldives, it can be a long journey. It's definitely worth it 1,000,000% when you arrive. But what you might find, especially if you're in a seaplane transfer, that you might have a couple of hours from arriving in Mali to then you get to your resort. So especially after you've had a long international flight, then use the lounge access in the seaplane lounges, have a shower, freshen up, change of clothes, teeth brushed, etc. So that's probably my top tip. Just take a wee extra bag with you, just with a wee change, just to freshen up. So as soon as you get there on the island, you can relax and enjoy yourselves.
Good one. Dom?
I think mine's not so much a tip, but something I'd look to do. One thing I noted is that if you go down for dinner early, or you leave the beach early, and you go around to where the jetties are, where the boats come in, or the seaplanes, the manta rays often feed at the water, and you see a little crowd. And people either have a little sleep or are getting their hair done, unlike me, or getting the things, and they miss that beautiful sunset dusk time. And they tend to congregate around the areas where the little boats come in, and all the fishermen and the locals and the people who work at the islands are there, just staring and feeding the manta rays and the other sea life. They come in at dusk, which is a lovely time to go and do that. So I'd recommend, make sure you don't sleep through, or you're doing your makeup and hair or whatever it is. Make sure you 5-6 o'clock go and have a little walk. It's a lovely time. It's a little bit cooler as well. So that would work.
That's my favourite holiday time. That is 5-6 o'clock. It's just starting to cool off a little bit, and it's just a great time of the day. That is.
Maybe get a little cold beer and go and be at one with nature with the manta rays. It's quite nice.
Well, I'm going to open up to questions now. So please tap the screen, type away any questions. We've got one in from Richard, who says that if an island has got a house reef, does that necessarily mean that it's a particularly good island for snorkeling?
Yes.
Yeah, if there's a house reef, you can have an island that's got a house reef that you direct access from the beach. So literally you just step in the water, start swimming, and then you meet the reef where you've got all your sea life. Some islands, the house reef is a wee bit further out, so you'll need a boat. It can only be maybe sometimes 5-10 minutes. And then the boat drops you off for you to snorkel around the reef, which is a wee bit further out. Sometimes if islands don't have a house reef, they'll arrange trips, say a couple of times a day, to take you to the nearest house reef. So again, a boat trip. But yeah, house reefs are the best for snorkeling. That's where you'll see all your Finding Nemos and your manta rays, etc. as well. If you're really lucky, your turtles swimming about. So yeah, if they are interested in snorkeling, definitely look for a property with a house reef.
I think somewhere like I remember Mufushi, you can literally walk off your water bungalow into the house reef. It was like putting your head in one of those aquariums you used to see at dentists, but all the sort of amazing fish, and it was just crackers. And you can ask them to drop off snorkel and flippers at your room, at your villa, when you come back from lunch, and there they are, and you can just pop off the decking. It's lovely.
Dom, do you want to give us some idea on prices for this sort of holiday?
Yeah, we obviously share quite a lot of offers, and the Miles Morgan team are very good at promoting them. So I think all this talk of luxury and decadence could frighten people off thinking it's going to be quite expensive. So just from a little bit of overview for what we do, we have over 60 islands that we feature in the Maldives. Obviously, advance rates for 22 and 23 has been particularly important this year, obviously with the restrictions. We, as we alluded to before, a selection of affordable 4 stars and some high-end 5 stars. It's one thing we talked about earlier, that small remote islands tend to have the no news, no shoes approach. So there's less facilities, and then the larger, busier islands tend to have more facilities. We've got a couple of offers here, just to give you an example of what you can get for your money at the moment. So the one on the left is Adaran Select Hudurun Fushi, which is a good 4-star, property. So 10 nights in a garden villa, premium all inclusive, flights from Birmingham with Qatar, shade over £2,100 with speedboat transfers included. So for 10 nights, which is.
You're dipping in and out again for some reason.
Sorry, can you? I'll try and. So obviously, just saying that it's just over £2,000 for an excellent 4-star all-inclusive for 10 nights. And then on the right-hand side, Nyama, which would be classified as one of the high-end 5 stars. Again, 8 nights, complimentary upgrade to half board. Again, flights from Birmingham, this time with Emirates, you're looking at just under £3,700, including seaplane transfers. And seaplane transfers do add to the price of the booking. Obviously, they're not included. We have to price those in as well. So that's two very good deals at different ends, often slightly different ends of the spectrum as far as the star ratings as well. So there's a couple of options for you.
Okay, well, I can only assume that we've done a spectacular job, because at the minute there are no other questions in the chat. So you two have clearly done very, very well in your answering, is all I can say. So well done. So even for me, I most certainly have. The Maldives is a destination I haven't been to. My wife regularly tells me we need to be going, and so one year it has to be on the list. So, to get this sort of stuff, and for me, some of the takeaways was, the opportunity to do the 2 centres within, a water bungalow and a beach one. The opportunity to have amazing 8 different restaurants is incredible. And you quite often think these are tiny, tiny islands, and there's probably only one bar and one restaurant on them. But equally, as Ali said, the wonderful thing is, if that is your paradise and that's what you want to do, it is available there. So absolutely everything is there for you. So if you do want to inquire about any of the islands, you can't remember exactly the name of them, and I'm not surprised if you can't, to be fair, then do get in touch with your local shop, and we can get in touch with Dom and Ali, and we can drill down and find out exactly which one you were interested in. And equally, if we didn't touch on the type of experience you want, you can tell from both of them, they know a lot about these islands. And so you just need to let us know exactly the type of holiday you're looking for, and we'll find an island that fits the bill perfectly for you. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Dom and Ali, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks,
I hope everybody enjoyed it and got some information out of it. And like I say, it was a bit different for us doing it as a questions and answers. And so do let us know and give us some feedback on whether you found it really good or you didn't, you prefer a presentation, because everything is possible. So thanks, everybody. Have a great evening, and let's hope for some sunshine for the bank holiday anyway. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Thank you.